Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Bernstein, and I'll be teaching the English 2090 Literature and Film WE course for Summer 1. So we'll go through a couple legal stuff that we have to I'll show you kind of how I designed the online course, and then we'll call it the first day of the semester, basically. So just as a reminder, this is a 3 credit hour. Legally, I have to remind you. And then this is an asynchronous course, which means that you could take this at any time during the 5 weeks. I would recommend, as we'll get into it later, that you do week to week, but you have a lot of liberty with this type of course. Everything, as you'll see in a moment, or if you haven't already, is completely set up in this course, so you could start on any assignment that you want, go at your own pace. I set the office hours for 9 p.m. because in my experience with teaching other summer courses, when I've had office hours earlier, students are working, students are taking care of their family during the summer, students are doing both, right? So a lot of times during the day, office hours, student hours weren't that helpful. So I always set the student hours / office hours. They're the same thing. We're just moving toward a student hour to kind of highlight that. But I basically set it for 9 to 10 at night because it seems like most students in my past experience are better with that time. If this doesn't actually follow through with other classes, I could easily adjust, but you could also make an appointment with Zoom or WebEx. My phone number and then email are there. Just legally, I have to remind you that you have to have an active account with Brave Mail and so forth. You have to have regular access to a computer and internet, and you should be checking Canvas on a regular basis, if not daily, but even more so, a couple times a day. Just check your online stuff every day. Everything is hyperlinked, as you can see. These are the 3 works that we'll be reading: The Racer, The Raven, and The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus. We have to do 3 separate genres at minimum. Since it's the summer course, we're not going to do as many as I normally do. But, you get at least the 3 genre requirement for the WE. Just as a reminder, too, that you need to have a C grade or better in English 1050 in order to take this class. You will be dropped if not. So I change the theme up every time. So it is the summer, so I wanted to keep it more lighthearted. So we're doing serious literature and silly movies. So we're looking at classic literature, very serious literature, and then movies that decided to do something differently when they were adapting them into a film. And so I'm very interested in a lot of your reactions to these films. These films are weird. These films are silly and goofy. They're parodic. They're satire. So hopefully you'll have a lot of fun. Even if you hate them, at least you'll enjoy the weirdness to them. So, and if not, that's okay. I don't make money off of you liking a film. Now, this is a WE, so if you're not familiar with it, this just means that you'll be bridging and building each week up until like those final essays, and you'll get to revise, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm not going to bore you with all the other legal stuff like the objectives and everything. That's just for your benefit. I like to go over classroom basics just because of experiences in the past. This doesn't happen often, but it is important to remember that we are in a professional setting, an academic setting. Our ideas should be based on logic, research, reason, all sorts of things. So we want to be very professional. We're going to be talking about controversial topics. We're going to be talking about a lot of issues about the world. So when we do, just think about decorum, right? Make sure that you're always speaking in very proper and professional diction. Make sure that you're treating everybody with dignity and respect and so forth and integrity, because that's important. So just be careful with, again, the emotional reaction. We want to, even if something's very, sensitive to you in terms of topics, that's okay. That's normal, right? Human reactions. We're very emotional creatures. But again, in this setting, avoid abusive language, avoid insults and all sorts of things. It isn't an online forum like a regular Reddit post or something. It is a college setting. So again, I don't tolerate any form of abuse. So just be careful. And any solution, again, logic, right? Just be as composed as possible, refrain from personal attacks, logical fallacies, aggressive reactions, and so forth. As you're seeing, I do record lectures. There's a lot of research that shows that fixed lectures are helpful for students, so you do get those as well as others. Make sure you have your discussion board settings set to notifications. I will not grade any discussion post, even if you complete it, until you respond to me. So make sure you do so. Now with Canvas, if you're not familiar, because sometimes we get transfer students with summer sessions, Canvas can only read Word, ODT, RTF, and PDFs. So make sure that if you're using Google Docs or Works or anything like that, that you convert them to any of these files. Please, again, remember that emails too should remain professional. We are in a professional setting. These are professional documents. And then allow about 14 hours for me to respond. I usually will be responding sooner, but it is the summer. I'm having fun. Even though I'm working, I'm still having a lot of fun. So just, just be patient if that's the case. These are all your major assignments and major requirements for the course. The grade distribution is here. Again, I don't need to go over. You can read yourself. But I do like to point out the most important stuff, which is everything will close down Friday, June 27th. There's not going to be late papers accepted or revisions or anything like that. Everything closes on that date. So just be aware of that. Since this is a WE, you could revise your major assignments as well as send drafts. So this is something that, is very helpful to a lot of students. That's why a lot of students actually really enjoy the WE requirement, because they get a chance to work on their writing, and that's the whole point of the WE. I've never written a work for publication in one shot. It takes me weeks to revise, months to work with the editor. So, again, you could revise your 2 major essays. If you submit the last one sooner, you could revise that as well. Revisions are always graded in terms of the new assignment. Apparently some professors average revisions, which I think is terrible. I don't know if that's been your experience, but that's terrible. A lot of students have told me that. I hate it. That's an awful thing. Your revision grade replaces the previous grade. So you could earn as many better grades as you need to or want to. And then pay attention again. There's weekly lecture and reading quizzes and so forth. This is very important if you do want to take on a quicker pace or slower pace for the course. It's going to take about 10 to 12 hours per week. So again, you don't want to just cram everything in the last week or 2 weeks of the semester, since there is a lot going on. Summer sessions are really rough for students as well as professors, but they are definitely more rough for you because you are just bombarded with information, and it can get a little overwhelming. So again, pace yourself. We do have extra credit, but I only have extra credit for these discussion boards. So we have end of the week discussion boards. You get a fun assignment. These are the ones that are a little bit more informal, so you could kind of use more conversational diction and kind of just have fun with them. But they are, again, you still want to argue and be very clear with your argumentation. But, these are the ones that we're supposed to have fun with, even more than the other ones. So you do have a little chance for extra credit there. I do participate in the Safe Zone program, so if you have questions, ask that. Everything else is just legal required, so this should be on every syllabus. If you're not familiar, read through these things. The Writing Center is open during the summer, so look at the hours for that. So for the syllabus, I structure online classes with week modules and week units. So everything is outlined in terms of what the order you should kind of view and take these in. And everything is pretty much, top bottom, I try to make it as easy as possible for students. So let's look at the course design here. So in Canvas, again, everything is compartmentalized. We have our syllabus, our start, and then you could reference it here. You have the course calendar, office hours, reading list, library resources for research, and MLA. This is the general discussion board. Ask any questions about the course. This is the one where a lot of times this is the one that we get back and forth. We have a lot of questions. And then, as I said, weekly modules are set up exactly as the syllabus. When you look at the module page overall, again, very top to bottom, everything is here. And then all of your reading tests are here. I like audiobooks. They're very helpful for students, especially neurodivergent students. So I always include the kind of an audio version of the text as well. So you don't just want to listen to them, you want to have the text in front of you, but it is helpful if you listen and read. That's usually more helpful for a lot of students. So everything, I have a couple different versions of these. There's only one version of this that I can find. But again, feel free, listen to them, read them, but also listen along. And that is actually going to really be more beneficial if you're reading and listening than just doing one or the other. So use them to your advantage. So everything else is very straightforward. Again, everything is numbered and everything is top-down approach. If you have any questions, email me or you use that forum. And again, everything is just week to week, so it is asynchronous. So take your time. There is no late penalties. You go at your own pace. But again, I wouldn't suggest cramming everything into the last week. Overall, I'd always like to say that this is a fun class because it's film, and literature. So we're reading, but we're also watching fun movies. So, as I said, I tried to do a fun theme. I love teaching this class. I've probably taught now, not only just summer sessions, but with the semesters, I've probably taught about 30 of these classes. I love the literature and film class. It's super fun. Summers are challenging because I have to cram in a lot of information in 5 weeks, but I try to make it not as overwhelming. So obviously, if you have questions, use the forums, email me. If not, try to enjoy this class as much as you can. I know that you're gen ed students typically, and you have a lot to do over the summer, but in my experience, teaching this for several years now with summer sessions as well as regular semester sessions, a lot of students find this to be the most fun English class because we get to talk about a lot of different things, and hopefully you'll see movies that you never even knew about before, and hopefully even if you hate them or love them, at least they'll be a different experience for you. So as I said, just pace yourself. Take care of yourself during the summer. Make sure you're doing what you need to be doing, but also having fun. If you need anything from me to help with the course, always email. If not, just best of luck to you this semester and take care.